All right, everybody, welcome back to part 4 of this major changeover on this bike. First of all, take a peek at this nice Nacelle. When you have an Indian Scout Bobber 60, they don't come with a Nacelle because they're just cheaper. And unfortunately, the headlight bezel and the headlight assembly is different between the Scout Bobber 60 and the full-size Scout Bobber. So if you buy the expensive Nacelle from the Scout Bobber, thinking you can hide all your wiring, it actually will not fit because of this little adjuster screw and tightening screw. It does not have this groove for it. So myself and a couple other people have found alternate options on Amazon or eBay or whatever, and we'll attach a link below for this if you are curious. Now, on to the main thing. Over here, you see we have new levers. We've already installed them, we've already changed them. However, I will still guide you guys on the process of changing your two levers. I'm only going to show the clutch lever, as the brake lever is a lot more simple. So first thing to do, over here and over here, you have a little plastic cap that covers a little Allen key stud. My preference is using a little X-Acto knife, working patiently and carefully around it to slowly work it up. Now, I have broken these before, and if you do so, no big deal. Just make sure you can get another one if you do end up breaking it. So pop the little plastic bit out with a knife like so. Now that that's out of the way, there is a little stud located right here that holds in your lever. We can take that out, but you still have all the tension on your clutch cable. How do we get that tension off? Get an adjustable wrench or a channel lock and make your way over to the right side of the bike, where we will take a handheld camera and show you the next portion. This right here is your little clutch arm. So if you were to pull on your clutch lever, you can see it articulating. When you're pulling in, it articulates downwards, moving this cable and pulling down the arm. And when you relax it, it comes back to this position. To take off the tension, take these channel locks, watch how it operates at first, and then taking the channel locks, rotate it downwards, revealing the little cable holder, and pop it out to release the tension. Now, if you come up and you look at the lever, your lever has no tension. With the tension taken off, what you can do next is you can remove your clutch lever. Carefully remove the stud. The stud has a little nut on the bottom of it that is a 10 mil nut. And in some cases, well, such as this, I'm able to just hold it by hand. But in other cases, you may have to put a wrench or a socket on it. Now let's remove the stud. With the stud entirely removed, you are now able to remove your clutch lever. The detent that you saw on the clutch arm, it has the same detent on the bottom of the lever. So now all you need to do is wiggle it out, and voila, you have removed your clutch lever. To install it back in or install a new one, you can do the exactly same thing. However, there are 2 points. The brake lever is going to be almost the same. However, it is going to be electrically controlled and to activate your brake lights, and in addition, it will be pressing on your master cylinder to activate it. So instead of having a cable, it will actually have a little arm that presses on a pin. Your stock levers come with a stock arm. However, these Joker machine ones will have a separate pin that you have to thread in to actuate your master cylinder. Outside of that, the removal and install is exactly the same as you see on the clutch lever. With the clutch lever, at this point, there's always an extra step. It is a good practice to oil this cable to ensure its longevity, as these cables do stretch and wear and dry over time, especially in climates such as Arizona and down south. So I advise to oil this. As this has already been oiled, We're not going to do this in this video, but to oil it, you can use a syringe to inject oil down the cable, and then by moving it forwards and backwards, you can have the oil come and play through it, and then you can see at the bottom, because gravity will help, if you're seeing oil come out, you have lubricated the cable. Now let's install this back in. First, let's put in the holding pin. Guide it in, and then rotate it into place. Next is we're going to install our stud. We're going to install it loosely to line everything up. Start threading it down, and as it pops out, set your nut back onto it. Now let's give it a little bit of a good and tight. Does not need to go too crazy because it is a small stud. And now with this all reassembled, we can put the plastic cover pin back in. All done. But now your cable still has no tension, so we will make our way back to the clutch arm. Back at the clutch arm, again, rotate it inwards to pick up the slack. Put your cable back in and rotate it back into place. Your pre-existing adjustment is going to be right back where it was. All right, so now that everything is back to spec. However, what happens if you're out of spec and you feel like your cable is too loose? Unlike crotch rockets, where they have a minor and major adjustment, Scout Bobber from factory with factory levers, or these Joker machine ones, comes with just a major adjustment. How do you tell if your adjustment is out? By the book, they want you to measure between the lever and the lever arm or the lever bracket and measure this gap. But if you went to aftermarket levers such as this might be not an easy spot to measure. So what you're going to do is take your cable at a neutral position and tug it back. If you notice that the silver portion here to this lever bracket is incredibly large, you're probably loose. If your cable sits like back here and then you can yank it all the way back, it's probably pretty loose. The spec is supposed to be between 0.5 to 1.5 millimeters. So take your tape measure and pull this cable back and measure that little gap. We are sitting at 1 millimeter. So we're right within spec. But if we weren't in spec, let me show you where to do your major adjustment. Remember where your clutch arm was? If you follow it, this is your clutch cable. And now over here, you have a boot protecting your adjuster. So to make this easy, move your adjuster, boot out of the way, one way or the other. You're moving. And there is your adjustment. So how does this work? This is your lock nut, which sets and locks the adjustment into place, which is a 12 millimeter nut. Your adjuster is a 10 millimeter, and what you're going to do is by holding this nut, you're going to turn your adjuster inwards or outwards, depending if your adjustment is too tight or too loose, to bring it back into spec. So what you're going to do is loosen this off, move the adjuster, then go back up to the lever, play with it a couple of times to have it set, then pull this back and inspect your gap again. If your gap is outside of 0.5 to 1.5 millimeters, go back and adjust again. If you have it within spec, come back down and lock the adjuster into the space where you have had it adjusted. It's that easy. Alrighty guys, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next parts. We're still got to do the 240 wheel, and we're going to be doing the Moto Gadget bar end blinkers with Joker Machine bar end mirrors in combination with the Street Pilots fork blinkers that are coming out in the next couple months. And then after that, I believe we're done, unless there's going to be other accessories that we're going to put on this bike. So stay tuned.